Okay, we're fixing to watch a program here that whenever I first listened to it, I had to really pray about whether or not I should go ahead and go through with documenting this and telling what I feel like is on my heart to tell. When scanning through the legal documents of what is the punishment in a group of people trying to overthrow or overtake its own government, is rules and regulations that goes beyond anything even imaginable under the Patriot Law towards a government having that type of power. But at the same time, by looking at both sides of the perspective, reading the Constitution, understanding that if a government gets so far out of control that it is no longer considered a authentic entity towards the people, according to our Constitution, we do have a right, as we the people, to make adjustments pertaining to our government. I can't say one way or the other pertaining to what went on January the 6th towards it being legal or not legal. According to what I'm hearing on TV, it was illegal, and the feds is going to pursue it as so. According to what I'm understanding. Okay? Which is that much more agony and misery that's being disclosed towards the truth and the whole truth and nothing but the truth in regards towards who was actually masterminding, plotting, planning to try to overthrow a vote that had been not only predicted of it being correct, but it had already been duly looked upon by various inspectors, by various heads of state that was questioning whether or not of their authenticity, that basically was all of a sudden put underneath a microscope. I mean a microscope towards what that they was doing and why that they was doing it. You know, in a way, whenever you get through watching this, because of the event that happened Christmas here in the state of Tennessee in downtown Nashville, in a way, I can actually say that various people have brought this upon to themselves pertaining to questioning good people's motives in trying to do the right thing. And whenever I say that, I'm actually talking about myself. I'm not talking about the individual that blowed up an RV in downtown Nashville, which you're fixing to see momentarily. Because anybody that uses that type of force or that type of violence, I believe is wrong. Kind of like the force that Timothy McVeigh and Nichols used against the Oklahoma Federal Building, because the Oklahoma Federal Building was in charge of what went on prior to that, 2 years to the day, of the assassination that happened during Waco. And whenever I say assassination, I mean that it's various people that works with military explosions and works with all kinds of different stuff. They knew that by them pumping that tear gas into that building that day, that it was an overwhelming percentage that that building was going to explode and catch a fire, because the type of substances that they was putting in the tear gas that day that was not supposed to be used inside of buildings, number one. Number two, it's not supposed to be used on women and children, okay? Knowing that they didn't have no electricity in there, knowing that they was going to have to be able to see what they was doing towards having a candles and other types of lighted instruments to be able to, you know, candles and coal oil lamps and stuff like that to be able to see where they was going. There had to be somebody that made a conscious decision the day that they decided to drive holes off into the Waco Davidian building and catch it on fire and cause about the death of 60-something people. There had to be somebody that had that call in upper levels of government. Now, I don't know if it was Bill Clinton. I don't know if it was Janet Reno. I don't know if it was the people under Janet Reno. I don't know. I just know this. Somebody had to make that call that day that we're going to drive a tank to the side of this building and we're going to pour tear gas in there that's not supposed to be poured in a building like that, and we're going to stuff it full of tear gas. Whenever you see calamity after calamity after calamity that continues to happen and in ways even gets worse, not just on a Mother Nature scale, but on a human perspective pertaining to what went on January the 6th, that recently we've just got through going through the anniversary thereof. Whenever you continue to see these things escalate and get worse and worse and worse, you know, the diseases, started out with one thing, and then they evolved to something else, and then they tried to eradicate that, and then they had these cocktails for AIDS patients, and they supposedly got that under wraps now. And whenever you get to see and how that we have went through one horrible event after another, it's really no wonder. It's no wonder that these horrors continue to happen to the United States of America. What's even more horrifying is the fact that the people that has created this atmosphere, 9 times out of 10, escape any type of retribution coming from the people that wants to apply illegal retribution upon to society, and they sit back and are in ways actually, I'm not going to say that they're pleased in what's going on, but they're not remorseful towards what's going on. These people are cruel, they're indifferent, and they'll put on shades towards acting like that they care about we the people, but in reality, they don't care about nothing but their own lives and their own families and their own pocketbooks. Now, there's no doubt we're in the middle of a war, a spiritual war that's going on, not only here in America, but throughout the world, pertaining to the opening up of democracy that's working through the internet services of the computer, of all these platforms, YouTube platforms and Facebook platforms and Twitter platforms, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. There's no doubt that we're adventuring off into an area that we have never, ever adventured off into. Okay? But at the same time, you got to recognize that people such as myself that was falsely accused on the front end over in Kenton, Tennessee, towards trying to mark me as being some sort of a maniac, a lunatic, somebody that needed to be on some sort of psychiatric medication, or maybe possibly actually put away, towards put them into a confined area. A lot of people like to prefer it as a rubber room, to put these people away, that way that they never, ever, ever have an opportunity of ever getting out and living in open population. That's exactly what various people around here would have loved to have succeeded in, or they would have loved to have succeeded in pushing me completely, totally off the rail to the point that I either wound up taking my own life, or better than that, go out here and kill up a bunch of innocent people and then take my life. That way they could all point their fingers and say, you see there, we told you so, we told you so. He was a crazy man. He was not only a crazy man, but he was evil, and he had evil motives. They would love for me to do that. My enemies would love to see me fall and come down in some sort of way. More gladly towards it being self-appointed. That way they wouldn't have to do it. Well, that's just it. The cowardly enemies that I have are just exactly that. They're cowardly. They stand in behind administrations. They stand in behind badges. They stand in behind their judgment positions. They stand in behind being a town mayor or a town this. They stand in behind a pulpit while they're steadily chunking rocks at people like me. I have never, ever wanted to harm or hurt any individual in my entire life other than seeing the destruction of Lucifer, Satan, and the Antichrist. Okay? And if there's something wrong with that, according to the church communities, or the so-called church communities, then they really need to evaluate who they love and who they hate pertaining to the Heavenly Father, because the Heavenly Father speaks very, very, very clearly that He hates these figures. He hates Satan. He hates the things that Satan is about and what Satan has contaminated pertaining to his techniques in bringing mankind down. I mean, it speaks very, very clearly how that God hates those who profess to be Jews and are not, and how God hates those that are lukewarm. He'd rather you either be cold or hot. He would prefer for you to be on the hot side towards worshiping Him. But if you're going to be lukewarm, He despises that worse than somebody that's out here in the left field towards being a bunch of Satan worshipers. You know why? Because those people that are lukewarm are dragging and contaminating just as many people towards becoming just like they are. That's why God said that it was worse. And of course, the scriptures very clearly talks about how that the gate be straight and narrow, and few there be that shall find it, that the road that's wide only leadeth to destruction. And whenever you get to looking at all this destruction that has occurred since 1988, destruction in one form or the other, regardless whether it was in the form before 1988, in the form of AIDS, or the form of various wars, or the form of stuff like happened in Waco, Texas, and stuff like happened in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma, and stuff like happened in Ruby Ridge, and stuff like happened towards an individual being falsely accused, towards the bombing down in Atlanta. Whenever you get to looking at the pattern that's going on and has been going on for quite some time now, what we see is a pattern of destruction upon destruction upon destruction upon destruction. It wasn't until 9/11 occurred when all of a sudden everybody got super concerned, or they're acting like they are. And I'm sure there's some really, really good FBI agents out there, or people that work in the U.S. Marshals or whatever, that truly are concerned about the benefit and well-being of people's health, people's safety. I'm sure there is. But by and large, they just use that as a gimmick. They use that as a ploy. They use that as an excuse. That way they can maintain their higher positions towards getting paid anywhere from $150,000 to some of them up to $400,000 or $500,000 a year. Okay? When you get through watching this video, they are basically openly disclosing not only the problem, but how to manifest the problem, even more so by people that was ignorant of these subject matters, that now, if they see this program on national TV or worldwide TV, now it'll plant a seed in their hearts and in their minds towards going and improvising and compromising on the laws because of so much turmoil that's been going on with this government for the past few years, and possibly be a copycat towards doing the exact same thing. So whenever you watch what you watch in the next 3 to 5 minutes, understand this, that if the United States government, working with not only the political parties, but working through the church sector, would have done the right thing in not only telling the United Nations that the world was not going to be destroyed by a nuclear holocaust, but it was going to be destroyed the way that God had predicted for it to be destroyed. If the church sector would have done the right thing, we would have seen a marvelous magnificent, glorious revival that would have come out of that, to the point that we would not be seeing what we're seeing right now with all the, what did I say a while ago that Jesus said? He said, the road be straight and narrow, but the broad road leadeth to destruction. You're wondering, how come God is allowing for all this destruction to fall upon the people's lives? It's very, very simple. If you continue to bite the hand that feeds you, that hand will eventually quit feeding you. God is not a pushover. God is not somebody to be used, abused. He's not somebody to be humiliated, demonized, dehumanized. He's not somebody that you can win over. Whenever you're dealing with your relationship with God, you're either dealing with this up front towards it being very, very sincere and very, very honest, or you're bogus, and odds are you're probably blaspheming God because you're pretending to be one thing, while in reality, you're something completely else. So whenever you watch this pertaining to what you're fixing to see, realize that it is certain people within various local, state, and federal departments that have brought this upon to we the people, society, here in the United States. In my final thoughts before I play this, I love my country. I've always loved my country. We've had many, many different people that has fought in various wars because of various circumstances that come up to the point that they had to fight. We was under attack. If they didn't fight, odds are we would have lost our position. I've had people that's got hurt. I've got people that's got harmed. I've got people that's got messed up psychologically speaking, pertaining to post-traumatic stress disorder. I've had people that didn't come back from war. I've had people that fought in the Civil War. I've had people that fought in the Revolutionary War. And I think I've had people that fought during the 1818 war of the Spanish Revolution War, I believe. I may be wrong about that one. But as you sit and watch this, keep in mind that my own personal government turned on me towards not only not wanting to recognize the prophecies coming true out of the Bible, but they wanted to attack me to prevent me of demonstrating or orchestrating the prophecies out of the Bible. And because of it, that's the reason why all the grief and despair has fallen upon to the lives of not only the guilty, but also the innocent. Please watch.
We're here to help.
There is a new warning out about the terrifying rise in homemade bombs. Here's Ken Delanian.
This is what a homemade bomb can do. The device that destroyed parts of downtown Nashville during Christmas of 2020 was built using materials purchased at retail stores. Authorities acknowledged they missed warning signs that could have stopped the bomber, who killed himself in the blast. Tonight, the FBI and the Department of Homeland Security are teaming up, asking for help to prevent the next one. Operation Flashpoint is helping merchants flag unusual purchases of key ingredients, like fertilizer or drain cleaner. With domestic extremism on the rise, officials say the threat from homemade bombs also is skyrocketing. There were more than 400 bombing incidents in 2020, up 71% from the year before.
Certainly in my professional career, I think this is the highest it's ever been.
Extremists sharing bomb-making instructions online. Here at the FBI's explosive training range, law enforcement agencies work to stay ahead of the growing threat from homemade bombs. They're simple to make, but they can be just as destructive as military weapons.
The bomb threat is there. It's not going away. It's big.
Agent Lisa Parmpichet works for the FBI's Weapons of Mass Destruction Directorate. Chuck Leyes is with DHS.
Every one of these bombings, there were traces and ways that they went about to get those materials. They have to get the materials in order to make a bomb.
Authorities say retailers have the best opportunity to spot potential bombers.
We definitely want to pay attention to people buying the fertilizer.
Right now, we have about 250,000 stores nationwide that sell products containing these explosive precursor chemicals. And we need them to report when they see suspicious behaviors around this.
In Nashville, no one else was killed, but authorities are worried they won't always be so lucky. Ken Delanian, NBC News, Quantico, Virginia.
Up next for us tonight, how a kitchen is bridging the gap for new...
Let's back up.
Ken Delanian.
Now, what was I saying a while ago about destruction? That the road to destruction is broad and wide. This is where we are here in America. This has come home to the Tennesseans. And I truly believe that bad karma is really, really hell whenever things get turned around on this level to the point that we're seeing this type of destruction that is increasing, this type of danger that is increasing on a day-to-day, everyday level. But yet now they wanted to falsify records on me, and they wanted to promote me, first of all, in the eyes of society towards me being a weirdo or somebody that was mentally challenged. Well, once they realized that that wasn't going to work after 9/11, then they come after me towards trying to make me out to be a homegrown terrorist. Not just in the state of Tennessee, in Weakley County, right up here in Martin, Tennessee, but also in Kentucky and also in the state of Oklahoma. They have been dead set in wanting to attack the wrong people. Just like the town of Kenton over there, that was dead set in trying to prove that I was the one that had the problem, even though I was the one that had a car roll over on top of me that lost almost 8 or 9 units of blood, had 64 staples that sewed me back up after my spleen and my appendix was removed. My left kidney had already been removed. So, you know, now they've went after me in that direction. Well, once they realized that wasn't going to work, okay, that's whenever they tried to put a stamp on me towards me being a homegrown terrorist just because of my religious beliefs. So has bad karma fell back onto the American people pertaining to the very things that they was trying to promote? Absolutely. If you look around right now, the mental health psychiatric problems in America has exceeded an all-time record, even during major warfare. We have not had this type of problem with people with deranged mental health. So in a way, and I don't mean this by saying that I wanted this to happen. Don't misunderstand me. But in a way, they have brought this upon to themselves, and now it's not only affecting the adult society that was guilty of these things, but now it's affecting other people. It's affecting the innocent adults. It's affecting the working adults. It's affecting the children adults. Not just in the psychiatric community pertaining to mental health issues, but this is my downtown Capitol building in Davidson County. I lived up there, give or take, for about a year or so. Actually, I've lived up there on 2 different occasions in Davidson County. But I'm very, very familiar with Davidson County towards their money and towards their corruption, towards all their country and western guitar players and song directors. And I'm very familiar with all the different churches in downtown Nashville, from Muslim mosque to you name it. Whatever can be thought of is definitely in that county. It hurts me. It breaks my heart to see an event like this that happened in 2020 December, which basically we just had a year anniversary this past December, okay, which was December the 25th, that recently just happened. But what happened to this area before this occurred? Wasn't there another tornado that hit up towards Nashville somewhere? It was either one that hit before or one after. We've had so many, I can't keep up with all of them. And of course, if you'll reflect towards what actually happened December the 10th, right before Christmas, we got bombarded by tornadoes all over this state. In addition to 2 or 3 days later, got bombarded by some more tornadoes. I don't think it necessarily done so much damage up here, but I think it hit Kentucky again within about 48 hours after the first one basically wiped them out. So you have to stop and you have to ask the question pertaining to being jinxed, pertaining to bad karma. Who has done this? Why has God lifted his protected hand up off of the American people and allowed for this type of evil to be demonstrated on not only in the regards towards natural catastrophes, but in the regards towards all this violence, just like January the 6th. If people think that January the 6th is over with, they are only fooling themselves. Because I guarantee you, enough talk that I talk around people and listening to their chit-chat that don't know me personally and open up to me, I can hear their distress. I can hear their concern. I can hear their frustration. And most of them are actually in the process right now of gathering up guns and getting ready to create another militia to overthrow America, even if it requires a civil war in doing so. Because we have sat back and we have watched these people fail in not only providing safety for the rest of us, but we have watched our children be inundated by all these drugs. We have watched our children be inundated by all this pornography. We have watched horror event after horror event pertaining to drug abuse and drug overdoses that has inundated our country. We have watched one scandal after another, from the Clintons to the Bushes to on and on. Benghazi, I could go down a long list of that's horrifying. And they continue to get up in the White House and argue and bicker at one another and can't hardly get nothing achieved, which is just that much more of a burden that they're throwing up onto the American people. And as people are watching this, okay, as people is watching this type of destruction in one form or the other, and I guess COVID has really, really brought this quickly to a head in people stopping and actually observing, well, what the hell is really going on? What is really going on with our government? How come they're doing this? How come they're doing that? How come we're giving all this money over here to this group? How come we walked away from the Afghanistan war the way that we did towards leaving all them people over there, and 11 days later they took back over the country? How come we spent trillions and trillions of dollars over here? How come we spent trillions and trillions of dollars over there? And now you're going to tell us that you're going to take this indebtedness and throw it onto our children and our children's children, and you wonder how come people are getting frustrated in our government? I believe that the most part of them are like me in regards towards they love their country, but they despise the government officials that's in the country, that's running the country. I don't think probably maybe 1% that has been attacked like me personally towards a character assassination attempt, towards trying to destroy any type of influences that I may have been able to have established through the Windmill Ministries missions. I don't think that so many of them has went through what I have went through, but I guarantee you there's people out there that has went through similar situations towards what that I have went through. Because they have said the wrong thing about the wrong people, and the people has turned on them, okay? They boycotted them. They have turned on, the community has turned on them because they said something that most people didn't want them to say, that most people disagreed with. And because of it, they have literally tried to destroy these people's lives that are actually trying to help society and not hurt society. And every time I look up, there's always a warning, or there's always a notice coming from the United States government about this or about that, which I think was very, very foolish in the way that they brought this out in showing part of the liquid containers and other types of inventions that a person with a deranged mind can make as far as bringing harm and hurt to society. I think it was very, very foolish in bringing all that stuff out into the general eyes. But once more, whenever you got a computer and there are no limitations on what you say and do on it, and you're picking up all these other ideas from all these other nut jobs in all these other countries, what else would have you have expected? Okay? As far as one bad apple spoils a whole bunch. I've been asked, how come you can take a whole basket of apples and put in a good apple, and that good apple will not cause the rest of the bad apples to become good? Well, I'm sure that there's some sort of a theoretical example or answer to that, and I'm sure it's got to do with the odds or the gravity towards there being more of the bad than there is the good. But you can kind of halfway look at that with society right now, towards society becoming more uglier and uglier and uglier. And the only reason why I'm saying this is because we recently went through the anniversary of January the 6th, and now things is heating up towards investigations, and now the feds, the federal agencies up there, have come to a conclusion that a great deal of the resistors or the coup people that was trying to present the overthrow of the government, that a lot of them, it was planned on an intentional event by not only bringing havoc to the area, but wanting to actually take the country over. Even though it had been duly looked at by various people in making these decisions that, yes, the Democrats won these states. I don't know what it's going to take to rattle the American people. You know, whenever you get to seeing these little incidences over here and little incidences over there, you know, you kill 150 people here, you kill 170 people over here, you have a tornado breakout over here, you have a bunch of fires break out over here, you have all these floods break out over here, you have all these other events going on overseas, you know, you got Russia staring down your throat right now, pretending what's going on over there with the Ukrainians. I don't know what it's going to take before the good people are going to be able to have a decent voice in telling their story and clearing the air pertaining to how that these vicious demons, and I'm not talking about people that does this type of damage. I'm talking about government officials that are in government positions that are being driven by an antichrist force, a demonic force, that if they could, they would take every one of the true Christians here in America and line them up and have them killed immediately. Why is that? Jesus said, it's very clear, for if they hated me, they're going to hate you. People loves darkness better than they love light. until you get to really looking at the whole truth. Nothing but the truth. So help us God. To see something like this happen in my home state that I've been living in now since 1967 is absolutely a heartbreak. It's heart-wrenching to think that anybody would be that cruel and indifferent to want to park an RV in the center of a town on Christmas Day and activate a bomb that absolutely devastated, I don't know how many millions of dollars worth of damage, but I mean, look at that whenever it's blowing up right there. I mean, that's not a firecracker that's blowing up. That's a real explosion. Whenever you can see that, give or take, for about a half a mile, and it shoots out a flame like that right there, that's just like a military bomb. That would be the same thing as a 500-pound bomb or a 1,000-pound bomb, maybe even a 2,000-pound bomb going off right there. Look at that. It's almost as bright as the sun for a split second, and then it darkens, and now you see nothing but a red ball. I'm pretty sure this is a camera that caught that somewhere in town. But whenever you get to looking at not just the damage pertaining to the physical damage, but when you get to looking at the psychological damage, the spiritual damage, the moral damage, we have been on a slippery slope now for quite some time. Since the late 80s, early 90s, and now it's come home to us. It's come home to us in a very, very haunting, fearful, horrendous, cruel, demonic, dark way. And until we're willing to wake up to these facts and understand that our people has failed us, that our system has failed us. And I think probably there was actually 2 or 3 different levels of fronts that was going on January the 6th. You had one group of people that was probably just there just for giggles and whatever. Kind of like rubberneckers. They just wanted to be there to be there. Well, they got caught up in a frenzy. Then you had other people there that knowed what they was going there for. They was going there to excite violence. They was going to cause mayhem. But then you had another group there that was actually not just going to cause havoc, but actually had the intentions of killing people and taking over the United States government. Like I said a while ago, I hate it that this is happening to America, but I guarantee you, if the right people start investigating, going all the way back into the late 80s, towards how come this country has been turned totally upside down, it will lead to the back doors and the front doors of various politicians that has allowed for it to get this way. In addition to the churches, the preachers that stood behind the pulpits and kept compromising and kept compromising and kept compromising. They didn't want the real deal. They wanted something generic. They wanted an off-brand. They wanted something that was artificial. Well, this is what it's costed us. And I could take you down a long row of various horrible scenes, just like what you're looking at right there, that has occurred just within the past 30 years. Not just here in America, but to America personnel in land and on sea in other parts of the world. I went through some paperwork a while ago, and I stumbled upon a bunch of personal business cards that various investigators and FBI agents and U.S. Marshals, regardless whether it was here in Tennessee or Kentucky, North Carolina, Atlanta, Georgia, Florida, Arizona, Colorado, California, or Oklahoma. And I guarantee you, I've got dozens, if not dozens, I've got dozens and dozens of people that I have recorded, documented. Not only have I documented them, but they've documented me. The thing about it is, they have gotten online and whispered various innuendos about me to the point of attacking my character. And now, at this point in time, I don't know that I could ever straighten it out pertaining to how that they have convinced various people that I'm a monster. And the whole time, it wasn't Dennis James Juby Jackson that was wanting to bring harm or hurt into people's lives. It was Dennis James Juby Jackson that was trying to help society so that society would be a better society. So in a way, Kenton, Tennessee, Weakley County, Tennessee, Davison County, Nashville, Tennessee, Kentucky and Oklahoma and Washington, D.C., in a way, you have no one to blame but yourselves, especially whenever you attack the innocent and you cannot keep a right eye on the people that you should be actually watching and looking at. You're spending entirely too much time and dedicating entirely too much effort on watching people like me whenever you ought to be watching the true criminals out there. And it's kind of like what I said on one of my other broadcasts. Whenever you get to looking at how the politicians in America have sold us downstream towards allowing for all our jobs to go down south in Honduras and Mexico and South America and China and Japan and all these other places, whenever you get to looking at who's the true criminal here, you have to wonder if it's the politicians that sold us downstream, or if it's the teenage kid out here that knows good and well that he don't have a snowball chance, and you know what, towards ever gaining any type of footing in society because his mother and father, he got dealt the wrong hand, a bad hand to begin with, and his parents are divorced and don't have grandparents and they're all poor and broke. I mean, what are these people supposed to think whenever they see all these other people riding around in nice cars, living in nice homes, having big fat checking accounts and bank accounts? What are they supposed to think about how that they feel like that the adult society here in America has abandoned them? No wonder you got people that's trying to make up all these different things to harm and hurt people. It's because they're hurting. They're retaliating by wanting to display more hurt into society towards blaming society. And it's not necessarily society's fault, but it was the people that was in control of the societies that has brought us to this point. Various federal, state, and local officials that obviously the people, the rich people, the well-to-do people, or the people that wasn't hurting, kept voting them in power, kept voting them in power, kept voting them in power. Some of these people have been in power for 30, 40 years while the boat was sinking. And they kept voting them in power. That's the crazy part. But that's the part that I tell people about, that your government officials is only as good as the people that put them in power. Because if you got a corrupt bunch of people that's wanting a bunch of corrupt politicians, they'll keep voting those same politicians in power because they know that those politicians have their cronies, and those are the people that they cater to, while the rest of us suffer, while the rest of us does without, or better than that, while the rest of us gets attacked, gets a bad rap from these people that are deliberately trying to destroy various people's characters because these people have spoke out, similar towards myself, speaking out. I never thought that it would be a price towards telling the truth. I never thought that it would be a price towards wanting a good thing to happen to your country pertaining to peace and utopia. I never thought that a Christian nation that claims to be a Christian nation would have attacked one of their own the way that I was attacked towards trying to get my message out to the general public. And that's the bottom line. I could care less about all these other different crazy religions. I could care less about all these other weirdo people out there. I feel sorry for them or pray for them. But at the same time, you can lead a horse to the water trough. You can't make them drink. So the best thing to do is just leave them alone. Well, this is what happens whenever the balance gets all out of balance to the point that you got more demonic, wicked, evil, harsh, cruel, insensitive people that's now speaking out in the same language that they feel like that their government officials have let them down in. So you have to ask the question, who are truly the criminals here? Is it the 17, the 16, the 22-year-old that can't do no better because all the jobs are shut down? There is no factories. And now he has to basically make what money that he makes off of the black market, the dark money. Who are the true criminals here? Is it the people that's let us down, taken away our privacy, allowed for all these hackers to come into our lives, promised us safety and security if we give up part of our privacy? And we see on a day-to-day level that not only have we sacrificed our privacy, but we've sacrificed our safety because they have not provided a safe, secure environment for us to live in. Once more, they wanted to devote too much time on people like me because they thought that I was an extremist because I was preaching about an extreme book in the Bible called Revelations. They must have assumed, kind of like the bunch up here in Kentucky, whenever I tried to help them up there by telling them that God had shown me of bad weather events fixing to come, electrical disturbances. They must have assumed because I was preaching the book of devastation that I must be a devastating person myself. And that could not be further from the truth towards me wanting to bring harm or hurt into anybody's life, because that's contrary to the Word of God, because Jesus said to be wise as serpents but harmless as doves. And he said, if they won't receive you, if they won't listen to you, shake the dust off your feet and move on. Well, I've seen society gradually go to being bad, to being worse, to being worser than worse. And now I guess it's on a level of just being horribly worse, to the point that now we're seeing calamity after calamity. And like I said a while ago, if it ain't coming in the form of man, it's coming in the form of Mother Nature towards harsh events that continue to keep happening on a level like I personally have never, ever seen, or would not have ever believed that I would have seen such activities as this. It's sad. It's really, really sad. We got Homeland Security to thank for this. We got Secret Service to thank for this. We got the crooked politicians to thank for this. We got the nitwitted, spineless preacher that didn't want to believe the whole truth coming out of the Bible and interpreting the Bible correctly. We got those people to blame for this. We got the crooks and the dishonest people that has managed to bamboo the system, such as your attorneys and judges and yes, preachers and counselors and doctors and insurance agencies. I could go down a big long list towards the people that's come out on top in the past 30 some odd years, while everybody else has been stolen from, while everybody else has been victimized. I just wanted to bring this to people's attention because I felt like with January 6th, recently just within the past week coming up, and now all this chit-chat about these other domestic terrorism pertaining to it being planned event, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I just wanted to bring this out to the people's attention. That way, maybe they can understand part of that in which what I'm talking about. Maybe they can have some sort of understanding towards how that these government officials, either in county, state, or federal agencies, have failed not only the American people, but the world. And of course, they would just love to find somebody like me to blame it all on. Unbelievable. The things that I'm seeing and the things that I'm listening to on a day-to-day level, it goes beyond anything that I thought that I would ever have to experience in my lifetime here in America. But we're here. We're here. The storm is upon us, which leads me to the last and final thought. Okay. We know we got problems. We know the system has failed. We know there's various people out there that would actually like to take over the system in a unjust, wicked, dramatic, violent way. We know what the Constitution says. But at the same time, we know what the law says about fumigating some sort of a movement like this. So it's kind of a back and forth. It's almost like tug of war. You know, one entity pulls this way, while another entity pulls that way, while another entity pulls this way. And we're basically taking 2 steps forward and 1 step back, kind of like a dog chasing after its tail. Okay? We're putting Band-Aids on the problems by ignoring them or talking about something else or getting involved in something else. But the bottom line is this: we have still not come up with a solution to the problem that is creating these problems in people's lives here in America. And until we do, things is only going to dramatically get worse and worse and worse. Thanks again for listening. Good luck to each and every one of us. We like to say we love you in the Lord. And shalom, which means peace. And may God be with you and bless you in your endeavors. In the Lord Jesus' name we ask. And amen. And amen. And yes, amen. Good luck to all of us. And shalom.